Far away, in a corner of the universe untouched by war or greed, there was a planet called Lunara. It was not like Earth. The skies of Lunara glowed with soft silver light, and rivers sparkled as if tiny stars were flowing through them. The air was fresh, carrying the sweet smell of flowers that never faded. On this planet lived a gentle people, the Aurians. They were tall and graceful, their skin glowing faintly like crystal under the sun. Their eyes were wide and shining, each one colored like gems, blue, green, golden, or violet. Their hair flowed like threads of light, sometimes silver, sometimes copper, sometimes the deep black of midnight. The Aurians did not care for riches or power. To them, the greatest treasure was peace. Every day they worked together, planting, singing, and celebrating life. They lived in round houses built from smooth stone and vines, with roofs that glittered when the moons rose at night. Among them was Alandra, a wise elder whose voice carried calmness like the ocean. She taught the young ones the old songs and stories of their people. There was also Kale, a young dreamer who loved to climb the glowing trees and watch the skies, imagining what lay beyond the stars. And there was Nera, a brave child with curious eyes, who often wandered where no one else dared. The Aurians' culture was full of joy. Every season they gathered in the great circle of stones to dance and sing. Their voices blended with the wind, and their glowing skin shimmered like lanterns in the night. They shared food freely, helped one another, and lived as one family. But Lunara was more than just beautiful. Beneath its soil lay rivers of shining minerals, brighter than diamonds. In its forests grew herbs with strange powers, plants that could heal wounds, ease pain, and give strength. The Aurians did not know these things. To them, the glowing stones were just part of the land, and the herbs were simply gifts for healing small sickness. They were happy, innocent, and unafraid. To the Aurians, life was perfect. But far away, in the darkness of space, someone else had heard of Lunara. Someone who did not see beauty, but wealth. Someone who was coming. The land of harmony was about to face its first shadow. While the Aurians of Lunara danced under their silver skies, far away, in a cold and crowded city on Earth, a man stared at the stars. His name was Dr. Adrian Veyra. Adrian was no ordinary scientist. He was brilliant, sharp, and endlessly curious, but also restless. Where others saw knowledge, Adrian saw opportunity. He had spent his life studying rare minerals, strange plants, and the secrets of other worlds. But for him, Earth had grown boring. Its riches had been taken, its mysteries uncovered. One night, while reading through old reports of space signals, he discovered something unusual. It was faint, almost hidden, like a whisper across the void. Strange radio pulses, repeating rhythms too structured to be random. It was not human. It was something else. Adrian leaned closer to the glowing screen, his eyes wide. This isn't just noise, he whispered to himself. This is a language. A song. For weeks, he worked in silence, decoding the signals. And what he found made his heart race. The pulses were coming from a distant planet, unknown to Earth's maps. From the descriptions in ancient star logs, the planet's surface shimmered with energy. Some believed it was only a myth, a legend spoken of by explorers long forgotten. But Adrian knew better. If the signals were real, then the planet was real. And if the planet was real, it could hold everything he had ever dreamed of. Adrian was not the kind of man to keep such things secret. He gathered a small group of researchers, explorers, and soldiers, people who trusted him, and people who wanted a share of whatever wealth he might find. Around a long metal table, he spoke with fire in his voice. "My friends," he said, pointing to a glowing star map. "Here lies Lunara. A hidden world, untouched by human hands. It is rich, richer than anything we have ever seen. Minerals brighter than diamonds. Herbs with properties that could change medicine forever. Imagine what we could achieve. Imagine the power, the wealth, the recognition." Some of his team exchanged glances. A young woman named Dr. Celine frowned. "Adrian, if there are people there, what then? Do we just take from them? That is not discovery, that is conquest." But Adrian's smile was sharp. "Celine, you think too small. If these people exist, they are primitive. They do not know what they have. We will study them, of course, but the resources of Lunara must not be wasted. Earth is dying. We need them more than they do. The room fell silent. Some looked uneasy, others eager. At last, one soldier spoke. If the planet is as rich as you say, we'll need to be careful. We'll go, but we'll go prepared. And so it was decided. Weeks later, the ship Orion's reach rose from the Earth, carrying Adrian and his team into the endless black. They traveled across silent stars, through dust clouds that glowed like fire, and past planets of ice and stone. At last, after months of travel, Lunara appeared before them. It was breathtaking. A glowing orb of green and silver, surrounded by 3 moons. Its rivers sparkled like living light, and its forests stretched endlessly across the surface. Adrian pressed his hands to the glass window of the ship. His voice shook with awe. "It's real," he whispered. "It's all real." But while the others stared in wonder, Adrian's mind was already racing. Minerals, herbs, riches beyond measure. The ship landed deep in the shadows of a Lunaran forest, far from the glowing villages of the Aurians. The crew stepped onto the soft ground, their boots sinking into moss that pulsed faintly with light. Celine bent down and touched one of the glowing plants. "It's alive, like the planet itself is breathing." But Adrian's eyes were on the ground. He scooped up a handful of sparkling soil, letting the grains slip through his fingers. They shone like crushed gems. His voice trembled with hunger. This is the beginning." 4 days, they stayed hidden, building small camps in the shadows. They moved carefully, watching from the forest as the Aurians lived their lives. They saw Elandra, the elder, leading songs by the riverside. They saw Kale, the dreamer, lying in the grass and watching the moons. They saw Nera, the child, laughing as she chased glowing fire creatures through the night. The Aurians lived without fear, without walls, without weapons. Their laughter echoed through the forest, innocent and pure. Some of the humans began to soften. Celine whispered one night, "They're not primitive. They're wise. Look at them. They don't fight, they don't steal. They live better than we ever have." But Adrian's eyes burned with a different light. "No. They are blind. They walk on rivers of treasure and do not see it. They waste what they have. That will change." And so, while the Aurians sang their songs to the stars, the humans watched from the darkness. The humans had landed in secret, deep inside Lunara's glowing forests. For many days, they did not dare to step into the alien village. Instead, they became watchers in the dark. They built a hidden camp beneath tall trees whose leaves glowed silver at night. Their tents were made of dull fabric, their fires small and smokeless. Every sound had to be hushed, for even the wind seemed to carry whispers through the forest. Dr. Adrian Veyra, the scientist, walked among his people like a man obsessed. His eyes never stopped moving, his mind never stopped racing. By day, he studied samples of glowing moss, shining soil, and herbs that pulsed with strange colors. By night, he stood at the edge of the forest, binoculars in hand, watching the alien village. From their hiding place, the humans could see the lives of the Aurians. The Aurians were unlike any beings the humans had ever known. Their movements were slow, graceful, almost like a dance. Their skin glowed faintly, especially at night, when their villages shone like constellations across the dark land. They had no weapons, no soldiers, no walls. Their lives were open, filled with music and laughter. Children ran through fields of glowing flowers. Elders sat by crystal rivers, teaching the young to weave patterns in cloth that shimmered like light. One evening, as the moons of Lunara rose, the humans heard singing. The Aurians had gathered in their great circle of stones. Their voices rose together, soft at first, then swelling like a tide. The song was not just sound, it was alive. The notes seemed to touch the trees, the rivers, even the air itself, making everything around them vibrate gently. The humans sat in silence, listening. Some of them felt their eyes sting with tears. Celine, the young doctor, whispered, "They sing as if they are part of the world. Not above it. Not ruling it. Just belonging to it." But Adrian only frowned. His mind was not on the beauty of the song. His mind was on the glowing stones beneath the singers' feet, on the herbs the villagers used for healing, on the untouched treasures lying everywhere. They waste it, he muttered. They walk on riches and treat it like dirt. While Earth suffers, they live in foolish peace. Not all of Adrian's team agreed with him. There was Captain Marcus Hale, a soldier hardened by years of war. He had come for one reason: survival. Earth was running out of resources, and he believed Adrian when he said Lunara could be the key. Still, even Marcus felt a sting of doubt as he watched the peaceful aliens. "Doctor," he said one night as they sat around their small fire, "these people don't even know what they have. Maybe that's the point. Maybe they don't need it the way we do." Adrian's eyes flashed. "And what? Leave it for them? Let them waste what could save our world?" "No, Marcus. Earth needs this. I need this." Then there was Celine, who grew more troubled each day. She began keeping a private journal, writing her thoughts by the glow of Lunara's soft plants. "They are not savages," she wrote. "They are wiser than us. They live without greed. If we take from them, we destroy not only their world, but ourselves." But she never showed her words to Adrian. She knew he would not listen. The humans studied the Aurians for weeks. They learned their language, their greetings, their gestures. They watched how they cooked meals, how they healed small cuts with herbs, how they raised their children with patience and kindness. The Aurians had no kings, no rulers. Their leader, Elandra, was an elder chosen not by power but by wisdom. She guided with stories, not commands. She taught that Lunara belonged to everyone: the rivers, the mountains, the forests, even the skies. Nothing was owned, nothing was bought or sold. This was strange to the humans, who came from a world built on ownership and trade. To Adrian, it seemed foolish. To Celine, it seemed beautiful. One night, while the humans watched from the shadows, something happened that unsettled them. The Aurian child, Nera, wandered near the edge of the forest, chasing the glowing fire creatures she loved. She ran close, too close, to where the humans had hidden their supplies. Adrian's heart pounded as he saw her. "Stay still," he hissed to his team. "If she sees us." But Nera did not see them. She only paused, staring at the forest with wide, glowing eyes. For a moment, it felt as if she sensed something, as if she felt the human's presence. Then she laughed, caught another glowing insect in her hands, and ran back to the village. The humans let out a breath of relief. But Adrian clenched his fists. "It's time," he said. "We know enough. Soon we will walk among them. They will believe we are lost. And when the time is right, we will take what is ours." And so, the humans continued to watch, hidden in the forest. The Aurians sang, laughed, and danced, never knowing that eyes full of hunger were fixed upon them. The land of Lunara remained bright. But shadows had already taken root at its edges. For many weeks, the humans had watched from the shadows of Lunara's glowing forest. They had learned the Aurians' words, their greetings, their habits. They had seen their dances, their laughter, their peace. And now, Dr. Adrian Veyra decided the time had come. "It's time we step out," Adrian said firmly one morning as the mist of Lunara drifted across the trees. "If we remain hidden, they may find us first. Better to appear as travelers, lost, harmless. We will gain their trust. And when the time is right." He did not finish his sentence. He did not need to. Captain Marcus Hale crossed his arms. "It's a dangerous game. If they sense we're lying." "They won't," Adrian cut him off. "They're too innocent." Celine, sitting quietly by the fire, looked down at her hands. "Innocent," she thought. "And we are about to deceive them." That evening, as the moons rose above Lunara, the humans walked out of the forest. Slowly, carefully, they approached the village of the Aurians. The village glowed with soft light. Children played near the crystal river, their skin shimmering under the moons. Elders sat by fires, weaving glowing vines into cloth. The air was filled with gentle music, like wind chimes in a breeze. When the Aurians saw the strangers, they froze. Their songs faded, their eyes widened. It was rare for them to see outsiders. Elandra, the elder, stepped forward. Her long silver hair shimmered as she raised her hand in peace. "Who are you, travelers?" she asked in the Aurian tongue. Her voice was calm, carrying both caution and kindness. Adrian stepped forward, bowing slightly as he spoke in their language. His words were slow, careful, rehearsed. "We are wanderers, from far away. We lost our path in the stars, and found ourselves here. We ask for shelter, nothing more." The Aurians murmured among themselves, surprised that these strangers could speak their tongue. Some children peeked from behind their mothers, eyes wide with curiosity. Then Elandra smiled. "Travelers who are lost are also travelers who are found. You are welcome here." And with that, the village opened to them. The Aurians welcomed the humans as honored guests. They gave them food, fruits that glowed faintly, bread baked from sweet grains, and water as clear as crystal. The taste was unlike anything the humans had ever known. Celine closed her eyes as she sipped from a cup. "It's pure, cleaner than any water on earth." Even Marcus, hardened soldier though he was, found himself smiling as Aurian children tugged at his coat, asking questions in their musical voices. But Adrian was different. Though he smiled and laughed, his eyes never stopped scanning. He saw the shimmering minerals in the walls of their homes. He saw the herbs hanging in bundles above the fires. He saw wealth everywhere. That night, the Aurians held a small celebration for their guests. They sang songs, their voices blending like streams of light. Dancers moved gracefully, their glowing skin painting trails in the air. Kale, the young dreamer, approached Celine. His eyes, bright like emeralds, studied her with curiosity. "You are not like us," he said gently. "You come from the sky. What is it like, to walk among the stars?" Celine hesitated, then smiled softly. "Beautiful. But also lonely. Your world feels alive. Ours does not." Kale tilted his head, thoughtful. "Then perhaps you were meant to find us." Her heart ached at his words. She knew Adrian did not come here for friendship. But she said nothing. Meanwhile, little Nera could not stop staring at the strangers. She tugged at Elandra's robe. "Elder, their eyes are strange, their clothes heavy. Where do they truly come from?" Elandra stroked the child's hair. "From far away, little one. Sometimes the stars send travelers when we least expect it. We must listen, learn, and share. That is our way." But Nera's eyes lingered on Adrian. His smile did not reach his eyes. And though she was only a child, something deep within her whispered, "He carries secrets." The humans slept that night in the Aurian village, lying on soft mats woven from glowing vines. Outside, the air was filled with the sound of gentle songs and the hum of the river. Celine lay awake, staring at the moons through the open roof. She thought of Adrian's plan, of the riches he wanted to take. She thought of the kindness of the Aurians, who had offered everything without hesitation. "We will break them if we steal from them," she thought. "We will destroy what makes them beautiful." But Adrian, lying nearby, was already dreaming of wealth and glory. And so, the humans were no longer watchers in the shadows. They were now guests, welcomed with open arms. The Aurians believed they had made new friends. But in truth, they had welcomed thieves into their home. The harmony of Lunara still sang through the night. But for the first time, darkness had entered its song. The humans were no longer strangers in Lunara. Days had passed since their first meeting with the Aurians, and already the village had grown fond of their new guests. The Aurians shared everything they had. They showed the humans how to weave cloth from glowing vines. They taught them how to cook meals from sweet grains and glowing fruit. They even invited them to join in their evening songs. To the Aurians, the humans were a gift from the stars. But to Dr. Adrian Veyra, it was an opportunity. Adrian walked through the village with a smile on his face, nodding politely, speaking kindly. But inside, his mind was restless. Every stone that shimmered in the walls of their homes, every herb that hung from the rafters, he saw not beauty, but value. At night, when the Aurians slept, Adrian returned to the forest, where he had hidden tools and machines. There, under the cover of darkness, he stored samples of minerals, herbs, and soil. Piece by piece, he was preparing for the day he would take everything. But not everyone in his team felt the same. Captain Marcus Hale was surprised by how quickly he began to respect the Aurians. They were unarmed, yet strong in spirit. They were simple, yet wise. One afternoon, he watched as a group of Aurian children built a small shelter for a bird whose wing had broken. They worked together, gently laying the creature on soft moss. On Earth, Marcus thought, such kindness would be rare. Here, it was natural. Celine, too, grew closer to the Aurians. She spent her days with Kale, the dreamer, asking questions about their songs and stories. Kale was fascinated by her stories of Earth. He laughed when she described rain that sometimes fell black with smoke, or cities where people walked side by side but never spoke to one another. "Your world is strange," Kale said one evening, gazing at the stars. "You have forgotten how to live with the land. But here, you may learn again." Celine's chest tightened. She knew Kale's words were true. And yet, she also knew that Adrian's plan would break everything Kale loved. The children of the village adored Marcus. They followed him wherever he went, asking him to lift them high into the air or tell them stories of battles long past. Though he was a soldier, Marcus had never smiled so much as he did when Nera, the brave little child, laughed at his stories and called him the giant from the stars. But Nera, despite her laughter, did not trust Adrian. She often watched him from the corner of her eyes, noticing how he lingered near their herb gardens, how he touched the stones of their homes as if weighing them in his hands. One day she whispered to Elandra, "Elder, the man with sharp eyes, he hides things. He hides them in the forest." Elandra stroked the child's hair and shook her head. "Do not judge too quickly, little one. Sometimes fear makes us see shadows where there are none." But Nera did not forget. As the humans blended into the village, a strange balance formed. By day, they lived as friends. By night, Adrian and a few loyal followers slipped into the forest, adding more to their secret stash. Celine noticed Adrian leaving more often. She followed once, staying far behind. And what she saw chilled her: boxes of minerals, bundles of herbs, strange glowing tools from their ship hidden under camouflage. When Adrian returned, she confronted him in a whisper. "Adrian, what are you doing? These people trust us." Adrian's face hardened. "Trust is a tool, Celine. And we will use it. You don't understand. Earth is running dry. If we bring this back, we will be heroes. Do you want to waste your life treating sickness when you could cure it forever? Do you want to watch Earth die when you could save it?" Celine shook her head. "Not like this. Not by stealing." Adrian leaned closer, his voice sharp. "Then stay out of my way." That night, as the Aurians sang by the river, the humans sat among them. Marcus clapped along to their music, the children giggled, and Celine forced a smile as Kale told stories of Lunara's moons. Only Adrian was quiet, his eyes fixed on the horizon. The Aurians sang of peace, but Adrian's heart beat to the rhythm of conquest. The seeds of betrayal had been planted. And though the Aurians could not see it yet, the harmony of Lunara was beginning to crack. The night was quiet on Lunara. The moons glowed above the crystal rivers. The village was at peace. Children slept, elders dreamed, and the Aurians' songs faded gently into silence. But in the forest, far from the village fires, the humans were not asleep. Dr. Adrian Veyra stood among the trees, his face lit by the pale glow of minerals stacked in boxes. Around him, his followers worked quickly, carrying herbs, soil, and tools. Their hands moved fast, their breaths heavy. "Tonight," Adrian whispered, his eyes blazing, "we take everything we can. By morning, we will be gone. No more waiting, no more pretending. This is our time." Marcus frowned, his hand resting on the weapon at his side. "You're sure about this? They trust us. They opened their homes to us. And you want to rob them in their sleep?" Adrian's voice turned sharp. "Earth is dying, Marcus. These aliens don't even understand what they have. If we don't take it, someone else will. We are doing what must be done." Celine stood nearby, her face pale in the moonlight. "This isn't survival," she whispered. "It's theft." Adrian ignored her. His eyes were fixed on the village lights in the distance. "Move. Now." The humans crept from the forest, carrying boxes and bags filled with Lunara's treasures. Their boots crunched softly against the glowing moss. They moved like shadows, slipping into the village. One by one, they raided. They tore herbs from gardens. They dug stones from walls. They stole bundles of food and supplies. The Aurians did not stir. They had no reason to expect betrayal. They had no locks, no guards, no weapons. Their trust was their shield. And that shield was breaking. But fate has a way of revealing the truth. As the humans worked, a small figure stirred from sleep. It was Nera, the curious child. She had always felt something strange about Adrian. Tonight, she woke to a sound, metal clinking in the night. Rubbing her eyes, she crept to the edge of the village. Her gaze fell on the shadows moving through the gardens. At first, she thought it was a dream. But then she saw Adrian, his arms full of glowing stones, his face twisted with greed. Nera gasped. Adrian froze, his eyes locking on hers. For a heartbeat, time stopped. Then Nera turned and ran. Elandra, Kale. Wake up. Wake up, she cried. Her voice rang through the village like a bell. The Aurians awoke in confusion. Elders stumbled from their homes, children clutched their parents, voices rose in alarm. What is happening? Kale shouted, rushing to Nera's side. They're stealing. Nera cried, pointing to the forest. The strangers, they're stealing everything. Elandra's eyes widened with pain. She turned and saw the humans, their arms full of stolen treasures, their faces pale with guilt and fear. Why? Elandra whispered, her voice trembling. Why would you do this? Celine stepped forward, her face burning with shame. I tried to stop him, she said, her voice breaking. But Adrian raised his weapon, his voice like steel. Stay back. This land does not belong to you. You don't even know its worth. Earth needs this more than you ever will. The villagers recoiled, their glowing eyes filled with sorrow and betrayal. Kale stepped forward, anger rising in his chest. You were welcomed as family, he said, his voice shaking. And this is how you repay us? Adrian sneered. Family does not matter when survival is at stake. And with that, he signaled his people. Go. Into the forest. The humans turned and ran, dragging their stolen treasures with them. Chaos filled the village. The Aurians tried to chase, but the humans had machines, tools, speed. Still, they did not give up. With cries of rage and heartbreak, the Aurians followed. Their glowing bodies lit the forest as they ran, their voices echoing like thunder. The chase had begun. The betrayal was no longer a secret. The harmony of Lunara was broken. The betrayal had shattered the peace of Lunara. The humans fled into the forest, their arms heavy with stolen treasures. Behind them, the voices of the Aurians rose in anger and grief. Stop them, Kale cried, his voice echoing through the trees. Dozens of glowing figures surged after the humans, their feet pounding against the mossy ground. The chase had begun. At first, the humans had the advantage. Their machines carried the stolen minerals and herbs. Their lights cut through the darkness. Their weapons gleamed, ready to fire if the Aurians came too close. But the Aurians knew the land better than anyone. They knew the hidden paths, the twisting rivers, the caves that opened like secret mouths in the hills. They were hunters, not of animals, but of truth. And now, they hunted betrayal. 4 days, the chase carried them through Lunara's wilds. The humans raced through glowing forests, where trees rose like giants with leaves that shimmered silver and blue. The Aurians followed, silent and swift, their bodies glowing faintly among the shadows. The humans crossed crystal rivers, their boots splashing in waters that sang like bells. But the Aurians moved like water itself, gliding across stepping stones that only they seemed to know. The humans climbed jagged cliffs, their hands scraping against rocks that glittered with minerals. But the Aurians climbed faster, their fingers gripping as if the land itself lifted them upward. Sometimes the humans gained distance. Sometimes the Aurians closed in, their glowing forms flickering in the darkness like spirits of vengeance. One night, Marcus stopped to catch his breath, sweat dripping from his brow. This can't go on, he growled. They're faster than us. Smarter. They'll catch us before we reach the ship. Adrian's eyes blazed with determination. No. We press on. Once we reach the mountains, we'll be safe. They won't dare follow us into the stormlands. Celine shook her head. They will follow. Because what you took is not just minerals and herbs. You took their trust. You broke their hearts. And they will not stop until they have it back. Adrian glared at her, his voice sharp. Then let them come. We will make them regret it. The chase grew harsher with each passing day. The humans entered the fire plains, where the ground glowed with molten rivers beneath thin crusts of stone. The heat scorched their faces, their machines groaned under the weight. Yet behind them, the Aurians ran unfaltering, their glowing bodies like spirits dancing through the fire. They crossed the whispering canyons, where winds howled through the rocks, carrying voices that sounded almost alive. The humans staggered, their equipment nearly swept away. But the Aurians pressed on, their songs rising to challenge the wind itself. They reached the storm mountains, where lightning flashed across peaks of crystal. The humans shivered in the freezing air, their breath turning to mist. But the Aurians climbed higher, their voices echoing like thunder, their eyes never leaving their prey. The chase became more than a hunt. It became a war of endurance, of willpower, of spirit. The humans grew weaker. Their stolen treasures weighed them down. Their food ran thin, their strength faltered. But the Aurians grew stronger. Every step was fueled by love for their home, by rage at the betrayal, by unity that bound them together. One evening, as the humans camped at the edge of the storm mountains, Celine stood apart from the others, staring into the night. She could see the faint glow of the Aurians on the horizon, moving steadily closer. They will catch us, she whispered to herself. And when they do, Adrian will doom us all. Beside her, Marcus loaded his weapon, his jaw tight. Then maybe it's time we stop running and face what we've done. Celine looked at him, her heart heavy. You didn't betray them, Marcus. Adrian did. But when the Aurians come, they won't see one man's greed. They'll see all of us as thieves. Marcus said nothing. He only stared at Adrian, who sat in the firelight, clutching a glowing stone in his hands, his face twisted with obsession. The chase had lasted for weeks. The humans were tired, broken, but unwilling to surrender. The Aurians were relentless, their glowing forms always appearing on the horizon, closer and closer each day. And now, in the shadow of the storm mountains, the end of the chase was near. At the foot of the storm mountains, where the forest grew thick and wild, the humans stopped running. Their bodies were weak, their machines heavy, their stolen treasures piled high. Adrian stood tall, his eyes burning with fury. They want to fight. Then let them fight, he snarled. We will not surrender. This world will be ours. Marcus clenched his fists, his voice rough. You're mad. They outnumber us. They know this land. But Adrian only raised his weapon, his teeth bared. Then we take it by force. The forest was silent, until it wasn't. From the shadows, glowing figures emerged. Dozens. Hundreds. The Aurians had come. Their eyes burned with sorrow and rage, their bodies glowing like torches in the dark. They carried no weapons of metal, but in their hands were spears carved from crystal, staffs that pulsed with energy, and fire-woven ropes that shimmered like lightning. Elandra, the elder, stepped forward. Adrian of Earth, she said, her voice heavy with grief. We gave you food. We gave you shelter. We gave you trust. And you repay us with theft and lies. You leave us no choice. Kale raised his spear, his emerald eyes blazing. Tonight, we take back what is ours. And with a cry, the forest erupted into war. The humans fired first. Bolts of energy cut through the trees, explosions lighting the night. The ground shook as machines roared to life, launching fire into the glowing forest. But the Aurians did not scatter. They surged forward like a storm. Their glowing bodies moved swiftly between the trees, their spears striking true. They leapt from branches, their staffs crackling with light, knocking weapons from human hands. Marcus shouted commands, firing into the wave of attackers, but for every Aurian that fell, 3 more appeared, their voices raised in battle cries that echoed through the mountains. Selene ran between the chaos, her heart breaking at the sight. She saw Nera throwing stones at the machines, her small face fierce with anger. She saw Kale locked in combat with a soldier twice his size, his crystal spear flashing. "Stop this!" Selene screamed. "Adrian, end it before we destroy everything." But Adrian was blind with rage. He fired again and again, his weapon glowing red, his voice hoarse. "This world is mine. Do you hear me? Mine." The battle raged for days. The forest burned. Trees that had stood for centuries fell in flames. Rivers turned dark with ash. The songs of Lunara were drowned out by screams, by fire, by the clash of weapons. The humans fought with machines, guns, and fire. The Aurians fought with unity, with the land itself rising to aid them. Lightning crashed from the skies as storms rolled over the mountains. The ground split open, swallowing machines into fiery pits. The air was thick with smoke and glowing embers. Still, neither side yielded. Marcus fought fiercely, but his heart was torn. With every Aurian he struck, he felt guilt claw at his chest. At last, he threw down his weapon and shouted, "Enough! Adrian, this is madness. We can't win." But Adrian was beyond reason. His eyes gleamed with obsession as he clutched a crystal stone. "If I die here, I die as the man who claimed Lunara." Kale rushed at him, his spear flashing. Adrian fired, but Kale dodged, his strike knocking the weapon from Adrian's hand. The stone Adrian carried fell to the ground, shattering into light. The forest seemed to roar in fury. Elandra raised her staff, her voice carrying through the battlefield. "Children of Lunara, stand! For our home! For our future!" The Aurians surged together, their glowing bodies forming a wall of light. They pressed forward as one, overwhelming the last of the humans' machines. Soldiers fell back, some throwing down their weapons, others fleeing into the burning forest. At last, Adrian himself was surrounded. His eyes darted wildly, his hands shaking. "You fools," he spat. "You don't understand. You had paradise, and you wasted it." Kale stood before him, his spear at the ready. "We had peace, and you tried to steal it. That is the true waste." With one final strike, Adrian was thrown to the ground, defeated. The war of the forest was over. The humans who survived were captured. The stolen treasures were reclaimed. But the cost was heavy. Homes were destroyed. Families were broken. The glowing forest of Lunara was scarred with fire and ash. The Aurians had won. But their victory came with tears. And as they stood among the ruins, they knew this truth. Their world would never be the same again. The battle was over. The glowing forests of Lunara still burned in places, smoke rising into the silver sky. The crystal rivers were dark with ash, and the songs of the Aurians were silent. Among the ruins, the humans knelt in defeat. Their machines were broken, their weapons shattered, their stolen treasures taken back by the Aurians. Exhausted, bruised, and ashamed, they sat in the dirt with their hands bound by glowing vines that pulsed with energy. Dr. Adrian Veyra was among them. His once proud face was streaked with ash, his eyes hollow but still burning with rage. He looked around at the Aurians, at the glowing figures who now stood over him, and he spat onto the ground. "You don't know what you've done," he growled. "Earth is dying. You could have saved billions. And you threw it all away." Elandra, the elder, stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but her eyes shone with sorrow. "No, Adrian. We did not throw it away. You did. You came not to ask, not to share, but to steal. You speak of saving your people, but you do not even understand what it means to live in peace with your own world." The humans bowed their heads in shame. Even Marcus, the soldier, could not meet her gaze. 4 days, the Aurians debated what should be done. Some cried for punishment. Some wanted to see the invaders destroyed for the homes and lives they had taken. But Elandra spoke with a heavy heart. "Blood cannot heal blood. If we destroy them, we become like them. But we cannot allow them to stay. Their hearts are poisoned with greed." And so the decision was made: the humans would be exiled, returned to the world they came from. When the time came, the Aurians led the defeated humans through the ruins of the forest, past the river, and back to their hidden ship. The Orion's Reach, though damaged, still sat waiting among the trees. One by one, the humans were forced aboard. Their faces were pale with humiliation. Some wept quietly. Others clenched their jaws in silence. Celine walked with her head bowed. She did not fight the exile. She did not weep. She only looked back at Cale, who stood at the edge of the forest, his green eyes filled with disappointment. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I did not want this." Cale's voice was heavy with sadness. "Then why did you follow him? Why did you not stop him?" She had no answer. Marcus was the last soldier to step onto the ship. Before he entered, he turned to Elandra. His voice was rough, broken. "You were right. We had a chance to be your friends. And we ruined it. I will carry that shame until my last breath." Elandra's eyes softened. "Shame is the first step to wisdom. Do not waste it." Then came Adrian. The Aurians dragged him forward, his face twisted with fury. He shouted, cursed, fought against the glowing ropes that bound his hands. "You think you've won," he screamed. "You think you can stop me? Earth will come for you. Others will come. You cannot hide forever." The Aurians did not answer. They only forced him onto the ship, their glowing eyes cold with sorrow. The ramp closed. The engines roared. The Orion's Reach trembled as it lifted from the ground. Smoke and dust swirled as the ship rose higher, leaving behind the land Adrian had tried to claim. The Aurians stood together, watching as the ship broke through the clouds, vanishing into the black sky. On board, silence filled the ship. The humans sat in shame, their bodies weary, their spirits crushed. Adrian paced like a caged animal, muttering to himself. "They don't understand. They don't understand. Earth needed this." Marcus glared at him. His voice was like thunder. "No, Adrian. Earth needed hope. Earth needed peace. You promised to save us, but all you brought was war." Celine added softly, her eyes distant. "And now, we can never return. We are outcasts, exiled because of your greed." Adrian turned, his face pale, his eyes wild. For the first time, he had no answer. The ship crossed the endless black of space, heading back to Earth. Behind them, Lunara glowed in the distance, a shining jewel untouched once more. The Aurians had sent them away not with death, but with shame. And shame was heavier than any chain. The humans were gone. The great ship that had carried them into the skies had vanished, leaving only silence behind. For the first time in weeks, Lunara was free of war. But freedom did not erase the scars. The forests still smoldered with ash. The crystal rivers still carried black dust. The songs of the Aurians had grown quiet, heavy with grief. Many homes had been destroyed. Families wept for those who had fallen. Children clung to their mothers, frightened by the memories of fire and machines. For a time, the Aurians stood in sorrow, staring at what had been lost. But then, Elandra, the elder, raised her voice. "We are not broken," she said, standing among the ruins. Her silver hair glowed in the morning light, her staff steady in her hand. "We are Aurians. This land is our heart, and our heart still beats. The humans brought fire, but they could not take our unity. And unity will rebuild all that was lost." Her words spread like a spark. Slowly, voices answered. First one, then many, until the whole village rose together. The work of healing began. The Aurians sang as they rebuilt their homes. Their voices carried through the burned forest, weaving hope into the air. Where fire had scorched the ground, they planted seeds from their sacred gardens. Where rivers ran dark, they cleansed the waters with herbs that shimmered like starlight. Day by day, green shoots pushed through the ash. The rivers cleared, shining once more like liquid crystal. New homes rose from stone and vine, stronger than before. The land itself seemed to respond to their unity. Trees grew faster, their leaves glowing brighter. Flowers bloomed in colors unseen before. Even the winds carried a softer song, as if Lunara itself was healing with its people. Cale, the dreamer, stood by the riverside one evening, watching the waters flow clear again. Nera, the brave child, stood beside him, her eyes wide. "Do you think they will return?" Nira asked softly. Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. Perhaps. But if they do, we will be ready. We are not weak. We are not helpless. We are guardians of this land. Nira nodded, her small face set with determination. For all she had seen, she had grown stronger. In the great circle of stones, the Aurians gathered once more. This time, their songs were not only of joy, but of survival. They sang of sorrow, of fire, of loss, but also of courage, of unity, and of the strength that carried them through the darkest days. The stars above seemed to listen. The moons glowed brighter, as if blessing the voices that rose from Lunara. Elandra spoke again to her people. The humans thought we were weak because we had no walls, no weapons, no kings. But they were wrong. Our strength is not in power, but in unity. Our home was scarred, but scars remind us of survival. And from survival, we grow. Her voice echoed across the stones, filling every heart with pride. Seasons passed. The burned forests became green again. The rivers sparkled as they once had. Children laughed and played in the fields, their fears fading into memory. But the Aurians had changed. They had learned that not all who come from the stars bring friendship. They had learned that peace must sometimes be defended. And they had learned that unity was their greatest weapon. At night, when the skies were clear, the Aurians often looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the humans lived with the shame of their exile. But the Aurians did not dwell on anger. Instead, they sang songs of warning, songs of hope, songs that carried into the universe like whispers of light. And in those songs was a message. We are the children of Lunara. We are one with our land. We will welcome those who come in peace. But to those who bring greed and fire, remember the war of the forest, and know this: we will endure. The harmony of Lunara had been broken once, but it had been rebuilt. Stronger. Brighter. The land was scarred, but the scars became part of its beauty. The people were wounded, but the wounds became part of their strength. And so, Lunara lived again, singing, glowing, unbroken. The land of harmony had risen from the ashes. And this time, its song would never fade.